What is going on, Pacer Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. Guys, well, we are not fully recovered from last night. I think, Derek, your voice is pretty much back.
Dude, I'm amazed I have a voice now. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. My voice was gone when we did that recap last night.
I know. I'm glad that you got it back. But, yeah, man, obviously last night for the Indiana Pacers, just a crazy turn of events there at the end. Pacers able to erase that double-digit lead with a few minutes left in the fourth quarter, able to come back, send it to OT, and take care of business in Madison Square Garden to go up 1-0 on the series. Now the Pacers have 3 more games they have to win here. They're going to be playing on Friday night in New York and then back home for 2 straight games. So there's definitely an opportunity there for the Pacers, Derek, to really take care of business. And I wanted to kind of talk about this topic today, about how the Indiana Pacers, I think we believe, are built to win this series. And really, when you kind of look at it here, Derek, obviously we know the Knicks, they have some really good players. They have guys like Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, multiple guys here that really are really good players. And we saw it last night. I mean, Brunson had a lot. Multiple guys were doing really good things for them. But this is something, Derek, with the Indiana Pacers that I think sets them apart from pretty much any other team in the East at this point, and most teams in the NBA in general, is the fact that this team, Derek, they're built for the playoffs. They are built for the playoffs with how they are constructed because they're not superstar focused. Like, their team's not completely built and contingent, right, on 1 or 2 guys scoring all the points and doing all the work and being the guys, right? Like, I even looked last night. Like, this team, Derek, like Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, they weren't in the leading scorers. They weren't even in the top 2. So, like, this team has so many players on it right now that can step up and have proven they will step up when it matters the most. We saw it even last year, Derek, in the playoffs before Tyrese Halliburton got hurt in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, before that game. This team, they've got a lot of guys that can keep them fresh. Like, compared to a lot of these teams, Derek, we even, saw it with the last 2 teams the Pacers have faced, right? The Bucks in round 1 and then obviously the Cavs in round 2. Frankly, the Pacers just outlasted both those teams, right? Because of the depth they had, because of the fact that they are a true definition of a team, and they're just so deep in terms of their rotation and just the guys that they can ask, to come on and play some quality minutes and really help their superstars, the guys that make the big plays when it matters the most, stay fresh. And a lot of teams don't have that. But the Indiana Pacers are one of those teams that do. They have legitimately 7, 8, 9 guys that can come into rotation and play some quality minutes, which is just unheard of. It's absurd that the Pacers have that. But then when you kind of look, Derek, at how the series have gone so far in the first 2 rounds, and again, how this series potentially is likely to go, the Pacers, even though, you might get some, right hooks from the Knicks early, and you almost did last night, like, we know the Knicks are going to come out and they're going to be really electric the first couple games. Like, we know that because they're going to be fresh, right? But as the series wears on, as we saw with the Cavs, as we saw with the Bucks, this Pacers team is built to go to 7 games if that's what it takes. They're built to outlast a lot of these teams that maybe will come out strong, but then some of the wear and tear of the games throughout the course of the playoffs, they're going to add up. But the Pacers seem to be a team, because of all those reasons, that are able to weather the storm a lot better than a lot of these teams.
Yeah, and especially with the Knicks. I mean, in this situation, Cody, I think what has separated the Indiana Pacers from a lot of these teams, I think, honestly, Cody, it's probably they do the best at of any team in the NBA, and there's probably only maybe 2 other teams that can do this in the way that the Pacers do. And if the Pacers get past the Knicks, I have a feeling it's a team that they would face in the finals, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Indiana Pacers, they dictate the pace of the game. I mean, it's a pun, but it's actually the truth. The Indiana Pacers dictate the pace of how the game is played. And that is why they're so good. And that's why, even with the fact, Cody, that with the Pacers, who their roster, because they don't have that bona fide superstar or that guy that can score 35 points a night whenever he wants to, we don't have that. But because of how the Pacers play the game, it allows for every single member of the team to be able to have as equally of an impact as each other. And that's why it's so crazy, because when you watch these games, right, you see when they play the Milwaukee Bucks, sure, Giannis is going crazy, but nobody else is contributing to help with that sort of thing. Donovan Mitchell, he went crazy in the numbers, but nobody else stood up to be able to help out with it. So it's very superstar heavy when these other teams play you, but that's not the case with the Indiana Pacers. You have, led by Tyrese Halliburton, a team that just is constantly on the attack, Cody. Remember, the Indiana Pacers, they have been one of the fastest offenses. They have been the fastest offense in the NBA over the last 3 years, since Tyrese Halliburton and this unit have basically been put together, right? And the difference is with the Knicks, they are actually the slowest paced offense over the last 2 years. The slowest. So you have the fastest led team versus the slowest led team. So it's a clash of how that works. Ultimately, it's a case of which team dictates the pace of the game. And typically, the Indiana Pacers have been a little bit better at dictating how it goes for them than the Knicks have. And ultimately, that's what does wear you down. When you face a team like the Indiana Pacers, who are constantly moving, they just seem to never get tired because they're used to that. They're used to always going 100 miles an hour. There's just no stop. But when you're the Knicks, where you're used to slowing things down in the half court, you want to run it through Brunson, you want to run it through Anthony Towns, you want to run that pick and screen game almost all the time, right? That slows things down. The Pacers are not like that. And so when you get to these late game moments, and Cody, we even saw it last night, like Jalen Brunson, he was trying so hard, but Cody, he was laboring. He's laboring. He was so much slower. It wasn't really impacting his ability to still shoot. He was like still getting buckets late in the game, but you could just tell he was not running at the same pace that he was, because he was just worn out, because you had Aaron Nesmith guarding him full court all game long, and then in the late parts of the games, they were double teaming him, and it was making it more difficult for him to get those easy open shots. And so it was so much harder down the road. And that's what ultimately won the Indiana Pacers the series last year against them, because when they were only running 6 or 7 guys, they just got worn out and they just couldn't keep up the pace at which they were doing it. Yesterday, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, they went off. They were insane. I doubt Karl-Anthony Towns is going to put up another 40 burger like he did before. He could probably still do some great things, but I doubt he puts up 40 points every night for the New York Knicks. Now, Jalen Brunson probably still will, because he's got a favorable whistle, and that's just how his game goes. But if you can make it to where it was super late that the Pacers did that for the game plan, and it worked, thankfully were able to pull that one out. Just hopefully the Pacers don't go cold in the late third and early fourth quarter like they did, and then they don't allow the Knicks to keep doing that. But if you can dictate the pace of the game, then the Indiana Pacers will 100% win this series.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right. For all those reasons you just said, I mean, this team's built to do it, dude. Like, this is how you win when it matters the most. I mean, I don't care what sport it is. If it's basketball, if it's football, if it's whatever it is. Like, you have to have guys that can help you do this, right? Because you need to be, when it's go time, when it's crunch time, you need to have your stars healthy. You need to have your guys ready to go in these games, in these critical moments. And heck, that's why the Pacers, I don't know if you heard this or not, but that's why they kept in guys like Ben Shepherd and Thomas Bryant yesterday a little bit longer than I think people would have liked, because Rick Carlisle even said, I want to make sure Aaron Nesmith is like as fresh as he can be and as good to go as he can be. And obviously you saw the result. He was insane. Like, he was Steph Curry last night. Like, it was crazy how he was from beyond the arc. So that stuff is so critical, man. When you can have your stars right because you have the players that can help, and like you said, you're able to dictate the pace a lot more. And then, I mean, Derek, it's going to add up, frankly, Derek, the fact that Jalen Brunson had 40 points, Karl Anthony Towns had near that, and you still lost, that tells you all you need to know right there. Like, you can have your haymakers. If you throw out your haymakers like that and you still lose, it's going to be tough, dude, because that's not always going to happen every single night. It's just not. Like, if you can't win with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns combining for almost 80 points, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
The Knicks had 3 starters that played 40-plus minutes in that game. And ironically enough, Cody, the New York Knicks Jalen Brunson actually had the least amount of minutes of every starter out there, which is crazy to think about, which is funny because the Knicks were actually sometimes doing better with Brunson off the court than what they were on it, which is hilarious. But yeah, so you had 3 guys on their starters playing 40-plus minutes, and then you only had 2 for the Indiana Pacers. And you're right, Nesmith didn't hit that mark, even though he's very close to it. But you're right. The Pacers went 5 deep on their bench. The Knicks only 3, and the Pacers got a little bit more productivity out of their bench than what the Knicks did. I mean, you only had Payne and McBride, who had 15 points between the two, but it was on 4 of 14 shooting. And Mitchell Robinson, I mean, credit to the boards he was getting, but offensively he wasn't really doing anything. But at least from a standpoint of the Pacers, Obi Toppin gets you 10 points and 10 rebounds in 20 minutes. And then TJ McConnell, also gets 10 points in 14 minutes and runs the offense on near 45% shooting. And Benedict Mathurin, who got to the line quite a bit the other day, was able to at least get something offensively going. And you're right, Ben Shepherd, who didn't really give you any offensive terms, he was still able to get some rest for some of the other guys. And I didn't even mention Thomas Bryant out there as well. So you're right. The Pacers, they're deeper, they're faster, and I just feel like they can keep that up further down the road than the New York Knicks can, because it's just not the type of game that the New York Knicks are going to be able to play. And the reason guys like Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby and Cat are, and Cody, did you see that video where Anunoby and Towns were Anunoby was yelling at Towns late in the game? That's a point where that shows you the mental strain that is coming down on these players late in games. Even when you had the lead and still should have had it, that's what the mental warfare that's going on. Because the Indiana Pacers, they're just wearing you down as time goes along. It's just so hard for some of these players to have to play 40 plus minutes every night and have to be spectacular every single moment in order to be able to win. So
yeah. I mean, it's a hard game when you have to have your superstars be perfect, right?
Yeah.
And even when they're basically perfect on the night, you still lose. Like, you talk about the physical, the mental strain that puts on you. I mean, I got to imagine, like, they were physically tired, obviously, from playing 40 plus minutes, but the mental strain of doing all that, doing as much as you can, and it's still not enough. I got to imagine, man, that just has to drain you. Like, honestly, mentally, that just has to kill you there. But yeah, I mean, this is a thing here, Derek, where, you know, when you look at the Pacers bench versus the Knicks bench, which actually the Knicks went, you know, to a couple guys, Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride, you mentioned, who both had 20 plus minutes in this game. But, you know, the Pacers had that and then some, right? They had Mathurin and Toppin 21 and 21 and 20 minutes. And then you had Thomas Bryant and TJ McConnell, who had 13 and 14, and Ben Shepherd, who had 7. So when you compare the bench minutes, I mean, it wasn't even close. The Pacers really, handled that. And, you know, also when you're looking at just the starters, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, the only ones over 40 minutes in this game. Whereas when you look at the New York Knicks, they almost had 4 guys that were at that mark, Derek. So, yeah, the minutes, they're going to add up. I mean, you already saw that into that game. You know, Karl Anthony Towns a little bit hobbled as that game was going along. So it's adding up, man, already. You're already seeing it. We're only in game 1, and it's already to that point.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like I said, Jalen Brunson, I mean, the dude's a warrior. He definitely was still making buckets at the end. But, I mean, he was just not as quick at the end of that game, man. He was getting worn down. Which is wild.
Out, you're like, he looks tired. He looks exhausted.
He did look exhausted, which is crazy because, again, he had the fewest amount of minutes of any of the starters. And, I mean, it felt like he was on the bench a lot, and yet still somehow, but that is the key to what the Pacers are making him do. The Pacers are making him play at a pace he is not wanting to make. That's the point. When you make somebody play faster than what they are usually wanting to do, at some point it wears them down. And again, like I said, when the Knicks, they play at one of the slowest paces in the NBA. Sure, he only had 38 minutes. Sure, Jalen Brunson was still being effective shooting-wise later on. But he also had 7 turnovers, Cody. And that's the other point of the pace. The Indiana Pacers, Cody, had 7 turnovers the whole game. Jalen Brunson had 7 all by himself. So again, it just goes to show you when you force somebody to play at a speed that they're not used to, it can cause mistakes. And that is something that the Pacers just have to keep at it. They have to keep playing at the pace that they like. They cannot let the Knicks slow it down. If you don't let the Knicks slow it down, regardless of how well you're playing, you always have a chance to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Derek, just think like, okay, this stuff's going to add up. Game 3, game 4, even game 5, if it goes to game 5 or game 6, like that's all going to add up, dude. It's going to continue to build upon itself, which only favors the Indiana Pacers, right? So if they're already kind of gassed and, you know, feeling that way after game 1, we're just getting started, man. So yeah, definitely for the Indiana sake, I definitely think they have the advantage here, and they are built to play with anybody. I really do believe that. And they're built to win this series. But again, we'll have to see it. They got to go out there and do it, man. They got to do it. And they've had obviously some crazy heroics recently that have helped them do that. But got to just continue, like you said, to press the pace, continue to do what you've been doing this playoffs. And if the Pacers can do that, man, I really think they have a good chance here to advance here to the finals here.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I guess that'll do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts on what the Pacers need to do to keep going and to finish out this series. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, go Pacers.